Good morning everyone. Basa tayo ng Bible guys. To Chronicles chapter 32 and 33. Pang June 9 na natin. And John chapter 18 verse 19 to 40. Dito muna tayo sa John. Yung karugtong kahapon to Meanwhile, basa na. Meanwhile, the high priest questioned Jesus about his disciples and his teaching. I have spoken openly to the world, Jesus replied. I always taught in synagogues or at the temple, where all the Jews come together. I said nothing in secret. Why question me? Ask those who heard me. Surely they know what I said. Verse 22. When Jesus said this, one of the officials nearby struck him in the face. Is this the way you answer the high priest? He demanded. If I said something wrong, Jesus replied, testify as to what is wrong. But if I spoke the truth, why did you strike me? Then Annas sent him, still bound to Caiaphas, the high priest. Peter denies knowing Jesus. Nasa Matthew 26:69 to 75. As Simon Peter stood warming himself, he was asked, You are not one of his disciples, are you? He denied, saying, I am not. One of the high priest's servants, a relative of the man whose ear Peter had cut off, challenged him. Didn't I see you with him in the olive grove? Again Peter denied it. So, kahit pala disciples, guys, nagsisinungaling din. Again Peter denied it, and at that moment, a rooster began to crow. Jesus stands trial before Pilate. Then the Jews led Jesus from Caiaphas to the palace of the Roman governor. By now it was early morning, and to avoid ceremonial uncleanness, the Jews did not enter the palace. They wanted to be able to eat the Passover. So Pilate came out to them and asked, What charges are you bringing against this man? If he were not a criminal, they replied. So verse 30. If he were not a criminal, they replied, he would not have handed him over to you. Pilate said, Take him yourselves and judge him by your own law. But we have no right to execute anyone, the Jews objected. This happened so that the words Jesus had spoken indicating the kind of death he was going to die would be fulfilled. Pilate then went back inside the palace, summoned Jesus, and asked him, Are you the king of the Jews? Is that your own idea? Jesus asked, or did others talk to you about me? Am I a Jew? Pilate replied, It was your people and your chief priest who handed you over to me. What is it you have done? Jesus said, My kingdom is not of this world. If it were, my servants would fight to prevent my arrest by the Jews, but now my kingdom is from another place. You are a king then, said Pilate. Jesus answered, You are right in saying I am a king. In fact, for this reason I was born, and for this I came into the world, to testify to the truth. Everyone on the side of truth, listen to me. Pilate hands Jesus over to be crucified. Sa verse 38. What is truth? Pilate asked. With this, he went out again to the Jews and said, I find no basis for a charge against him, but it is your custom for me to release to you one prisoner at the time of the Passover. Do you want me to release the king of the Jews? They shouted back. No, not him. Give us Barabbas. Now Barabbas had taken part in a rebellion. So yung kahit nung araw yung mga rebellion, kinukulong din. Dito na tayo sa wala kang pangkalsa. Dito na tayo sa 2 Chronicles chapter 32 and 33. Ba't nabasa? Basa yung cellphone. Nakababad siya kanina to. Sa chapter 32 tayo. Sennacherib threatens in Jerusalem. After all that Hezekiah had so faithfully done. Dito na tayo sa Chronicles, guys. 2 Chronicles chapter 32. Sennacherib threatens Jerusalem. After all that Hezekiah had so faithfully done, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, came and invaded Judah. He laid siege to the fortified cities, thinking to conquer them for himself. When Hezekiah saw that Sennacherib had come and that he intended to make war on Jerusalem, he consulted with his officials and military staff about blocking off the water from the springs outside the city, and they helped him. A large force of men assembled, and they blocked all the springs and the stream that flowed through the land. Why should the kings of Assyria come and find plenty of water? They said. Then he worked hard repairing all the broken sections of the wall and building towers on it. He built another wall outside that one and reinforced the supporting terraces of the city of David. He also made large numbers of weapons and shields. He appointed military officers over the people and assembled them before him in the square at the city gate and encouraged them with his words, "Be strong and courageous." So, gawin natin tong description. Kasi sa panahon ng COVID-19, be strong tayo, guys. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged because of the king of Assyria and the vast army with him. For there is greater power with us than with him. With him is only the arm of flesh. So, hanggang saan yung ating description dito? 7 lang. So, sa verse 8, with him is only the arm of flesh, but with us is the Lord our God to help us and to fight our battles. And the people gained confidence from what Hezekiah the king of Judah said. Verse 9, later when Sennacherib king of Assyria and all his forces were laying siege to Lachish, he sent his officers to Jerusalem with this message for Hezekiah king of Judah and for all the people of Judah who were there. Sa verse 10, this is what Sennacherib, bilisan natin, at ako'y magtatrabaho pa. This is what Sennacherib, king of Assyria, says. On what are you basing your confidence that you remain in Jerusalem under siege? When Hezekiah says, the Lord our God will save us from the hand of the king of Assyria, he is misleading you to let you die of hunger and thirst. Did not Hezekiah himself remove the gods' high places and altars, saying to Judah and Jerusalem, you must worship before one altar and burn sacrifices on it? Do you not know what I and my fathers have done to all the peoples of the other lands? Were the gods of those nations, yung mga Diyos-Diyosan ba, guys, of those nations ever able to deliver their land from my hand? Who of all the gods of these nations that my fathers destroyed had been able to save his people from me? How then can your God deliver you from my hand? Now do not let Hezekiah deceive you and mislead you like this. Do not believe him, for no God of any nation or kingdom has been able to deliver his people from my hand or the hand of my fathers. How much less will your God deliver from my hand? From my hand. Akala ko questions. Hindi pala. Exclamation pala. Ay, daling na. Sa verse 16, Sennacherib's officers spoke further against the Lord God and against his servant Hezekiah. The king also wrote letters insulting the Lord, the God of Israel, and saying this against him: just as the gods of the people of the other lands did not rescue their people from my hand, so the God of Hezekiah will not rescue his people from my hand. Then they called out in Hebrew to the people of Jerusalem who were on the wall to terrify them and make them afraid in order to capture the city. They spoke about the God of Jerusalem as they did about the gods of the other people of the world, the work of men's hands. So verse 20. King Hezekiah and the prophet Isaiah son of Amos cried out in prayer to heaven about this, and the Lord sent an angel who annihilated all the fighting men and the leaders and officers in the camp of the Assyrian king. So he withdrew to his... Teka muna guys. Yung ilong natin, kumana na naman. Ulitin natin sa verse 20. King Hezekiah and the prophet Isaiah son of Amos cried out in prayer to heaven about this, and the Lord sent an angel who annihilated all the fighting men and the leaders and officers in the camp of the Assyrian king. So he withdrew to his own land in disgrace, and when he went into the temple of his God, some of his sons cut him down with the sword. So the Lord saved Hezekiah and the people of Jerusalem from the hand of Sennacherib, king of Assyria, and from the hand of all others. He took care of them on every side. Many brought offerings to Jerusalem for the Lord, and valuable gifts for Hezekiah, king of Judah. From then on he was highly regarded by all the nations. Hezekiah pride, success, and death. Sa verse 24. In those days, Hezekiah became ill and was the point of death. He prayed to the Lord. Ito guys yung sabi ko sa inyo yung paborito kong prayer niya. Mamaya. He prayed to the Lord who answered him and gave him a miraculous sign. But Hezekiah's heart was proud, and he did not respond to the kindness shown him. Therefore the Lord's wrath. Tapos na pala yung niya. Alam niyo, bumili ako ng Ganda, wala na siyang sound. Hindi siya maingay. Bumili ako ng maliit na electric fan. Sa verse 25 tayo. But Hezekiah's heart was proud, and he did not respond to the kindness shown him. Therefore the Lord's wrath was on him and on Judah and Jerusalem. Then Hezekiah repented of the pride of his heart, as did the people of Jerusalem. Therefore the Lord's wrath did not come upon them during the days of Hezekiah. Hezekiah had very great riches and honor, and he made treasuries for his silver and gold, and for his precious stones, spices, shields, and all kinds of valuables. He also made buildings to store the harvest of grain, new wine, and oil, and he made stalls for various kinds of cattle and pens of the flock for the flocks. He built villages and acquired great numbers of flocks and herds, for God had given him very great riches. So verse 30. It was Hezekiah who blocked the upper outlet of the Gihon spring and channeled the water down to the west side of the city of David. He succeeded in everything he undertook, but verse 31. When envoys were sent by the rulers of Babylon to ask him about the miraculous sign that had occurred in the land, God left him to test him and to know everything that was in his heart. The other events of Ezekiel's reign and his acts of devoting are written in the vision of the prophet Isaiah son of Amos, in the book of the kings of Judah and Israel. Hezekiah tasted with his fathers and was buried. Sorry guys. Sa verse 33, Hezekiah rested. Yun. Hezekiah rested with his fathers and was buried on the hill where the tombs of David's descendants are. All Judah and the people of Jerusalem honored him when he died, and Manasseh his son succeeded him as king. Akala ko kasi dati itong si Manasseh, anak to ni Joseph. Si Manasseh tsaka si Ephraim. Yung sa tribe guys. So, sa 12 tribe. Diba si Joseph isa doon sa anak ni Jacob. Pero pinangalan sa anak niyang dalawa, kay Manasseh tsaka Ephraim. Pero dito, anak siya ni Hezekiah. Manasseh king of Judah. Manasseh was 12, so 33 na tayo. Bilisan na. 5 minutes na lang. Manasseh was 12 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 55 years. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord, following the detestable practices of the nations the Lord had driven out before the Israelites. He rebuilt the high places his father Hezekiah had demolished. He also erected altars to the Baals, and with Asherah poles he bowed down to all the starry host and worshipped them. He built altars in the temple of the Lord, of which the Lord had said, My name will remain in Jerusalem forever. In both courts of the temple of the Lord he built altars to all the starry host. He sacrificed his sons in the fire. Grabe naman si Manasseh. Yung anak niya guys, sinacrifice doon sa fire. He sacrificed his sons in the fire in the valley of Ben Hinnom, practiced sorcery, divination, and witchcraft, and consulted mediums and spiritists. He did much evil in the eyes of the Lord, provoking him to anger. He took the carved image, ayan na yung mga images. He took the carved image he had made and put in God's temple, of which God had said to David and to his son Solomon, In this temple and in Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, I will put my name forever. I will not again make the feet of the Israelites leave the land I assigned to your forefathers, if only they will be careful to do everything I commanded them concerning all the laws, decrees, and ordinances given through Moses. But Manasseh led Judah and the people of Jerusalem astray, so that they did more evil than the nations the Lord had destroyed before the Israelites. The Lord spoke to Manasseh and his people, but they paid no attention, so the Lord brought against them the army commanders of the king of Assyria. Ayan, hinto na raw tayo. Yung chan ko. So the Lord brought against them the army commanders of the king of Assyria. Sa verse 11 yun, guys. Who took Manasseh prisoner, but a hook in his nose bound him with bronze shackles and took him to Babylon. In his distress he sought the favor of the Lord his God, and humbled himself greatly before the God of his fathers. And when he prayed to him, the Lord was moved by his ano to, guys? Entreaty. So verse 13. And when he prayed to him, the Lord was moved by his entreaty and listened to his plea. So he brought him back to Jerusalem and to his kingdom. Then Manasseh knew that the Lord is God. Sabi ko kasi sa inyo, guys, maliliit talaga ang sulat ng Bible. Pangit pala yung nabili ko kahapon na salamin. Sa verse 14, afterward, he rebuilt the outer wall of the city of David west of the Gihon, spring in the valley as far as the entrance of the fish gate, and encircling the hill of Ophel. He also made it much higher. He stationed military commanders in all the fortified cities in Judah. Sa verse 15, he got rid of the foreign gods and removed the image from the temple of the Lord, as well as all the altars he had built on the temple hill in Jerusalem, and he threw them out of the city. Then he restored the altar of the Lord and sacrificed fellowship offerings and thank offerings on it, and told Judah to serve the Lord, the God of Israel. The people, however, continued to sacrifice at the high places, but only to the Lord their God. The other events of Manasseh reign, including his prayer to his God, and the words the seers spoke to him in the name of the Lord, the God of Israel, are written in the annals of the kings of Israel. His prayer and how God was moved by his entreaty, as well as all his sins and unfaithfulness, and the sites where he built high places and set up Asherah poles and idols before he humbled himself. All are written in the records of the seers. Manasseh stayed with his fathers and was buried in his place, and Amon his son succeeded him as king. Amon, king of Judah. Sa verse 21. Amon was 22 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 2 years. 2 years long. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord as his father Manasseh had done. Amon worshipped and offered sacrifices to all the idols Manasseh had made. But unlike his father Manasseh, he did not humble himself before the Lord. Amon increased his guilt. Amon's officials conspired against him and assassinated him in his palace. Then the people of the land killed all who had plotted against King Amon, and they made Josiah, his son, king in his place. Ayun, hanggang dyan na lang. Bye everyone. God bless.